This story begins on a rainy night on a battlefield. On top of the mountain of corpses was Qin Feng, who despite being under the effect of accelerated aging 100 times, had still managed to clear the ruins of the ancient god. A woman holding a dagger praised Qin Feng for being impressive and decided to take the divine artifact called Eye of Judgment. Qin Feng, injured and on the brink of death, asked his sister Qin Xiaoyu why she was betraying him. Coldly, Qin Xiaoyu made it clear that Qin Feng was nothing more than an adopted child whom her parents took in. She did not consider him her brother since he did not share the same blood as her. A blonde man named Song Fei appeared and mentioned that Qin Feng had turned out to be useful. Resting his hand on her shoulder and holding the divine artifact, he smiled and thanked Qin Feng since without him, Qin Xiaoyu and he would never have obtained the divine artifact. To completely drain Qin Feng's lifespan in one go, he had worked hard to obtain the soul-stealing blade that was now embedded in his body. He asked if Qin Feng liked his farewell gift. Qin Feng had raised Qin Xiaoyu after their parents passed away, supporting her in school, and even after the game descended upon the world. He risked his life countless times for her, but now seeing that she had betrayed him, he realized that he had judged her wrongly. Qin Xiaoyu made it clear that after their parents died, Qin Feng kept meddling in her life, giving her orders and controlling her. Before, when Song Fei and she needed his protection, he was still somewhat useful, but now that they had the divine artifact, the only value he had for them was gone. Song Fei lunged at Qin Feng to end his life, promising that he would take good care of Qin Xiaoyu. As death was approaching, Qin Feng promised not to let them get away with it. Just before he could finish the sentence, Song Fei took his life. In 2025, the God-forsaken game descended where the only currency was lifespan. Dying caused a loss of lifespan, while killing monsters granted lifespan. Players could spend lifespan to bring their in-game abilities into the real world. The strong could crush tanks with their own hands, cut airplanes with a sword, and even withstand nuclear explosions with their own bodies. From that moment on, the world changed drastically, and chaos spread. He fought to survive with his sister, enduring countless hardships, barely managing to enter the top 100 of global powerhouses. After overcoming endless dangers and narrowly escaping death countless times, he finally managed to conquer the ruins of the ancient god and obtain the divine artifact called Eye of Judgment. At last, he had the qualifications to reach the top, but who would have thought that the price of his success would be betrayal by his only family? All his efforts in life were nothing more than an interference, and all his struggles only paved the way for another's success. If he could live again, he swore to fight only for himself. But then something happened, and Qin Feng opened his eyes. Surprisingly, he was in his room. He quickly sat up and realized that this was the real world. He was confused since he remembered having died, but once he turned on his phone he saw that it was the year 2025. When looking out the window, he saw the beautiful city, realizing that he had been reborn 9 years ago, the day the God-forsaken game descended to Earth. The next day, his sister, Qin Xiaoyu, kicked open the door and upon seeing that Qin Feng was at home drinking coffee, she got angry and asked why he wasn't answering her calls. She kicked the trash can. Qin Feng remembered that on the day the Forsaken game descended, he and Qin Xiaoyu had a big fight over Song Fei. On the wall were the posters of Song Fei. Before the game descended, Song Fei was a somewhat famous underground idol, and Qin Xiaoyu was his obsessed fan. Song Fei seemed glamorous on the surface, but in reality, he was a complete scoundrel who had deceived many of his fans to take their money and take advantage of their bodies. And to prevent Qin Xiaoyu from being scammed, Qin Feng always forbade her from associating with that guy. But in the end, our boy was accused of controlling her life. Pointing at Qin Feng with her finger, Xiaoyu asked if he was deaf, saying that it was his fault that Song Fei had lost first place this month, threatening him that if Qin Feng did not give her money to help Song Fei rise in rank, she would get angry. Just then, with a cold expression, Qin Feng gave her a strong slap on the face, making her fall to the ground. Her cheeks swelled, and blood began to flow from her nose, and her eyes filled with tears. She could not believe that Qin Feng had hit her. With a piercing gaze, Qin Feng made it clear that he neither had the desire nor the time to argue with her, warning that if she kept barking, he was going to break her mouth. He threw the credit card over her head and said that this was the money their parents had left behind. And no matter how difficult the situation had been all these years, he had never touched a single cent. For the sake of their parents, he decided not to lower himself to her level, but he made one thing clear: from today on, he did not have a sister like her. Xiaoyu began to cry and could not help but get angry. In his past life, to protect Xiaoyu, Qin Feng lost too many opportunities, too many secret treasures and dungeons that required risky exploration. which he gave up. He took out some sleeping pills and using water, swallowed them. He was curious, and without this burden, he was going to go far. This time he decided to use his understanding of the game from his past life to get ahead of everyone. And from now on, Qin Xiaoyu was on her own. And as for Song Fei, our boy decided to take his head personally. Qin Feng fell asleep and appeared in the choice hall. He had missed this place since the first time he came here. He was so nervous that it took him several hours to complete his career choice and leave. But this time, he had to be faster. In his past life, he chose the warrior to protect Qin Xiaoyu. The warrior class was not weak, but it was no longer the right choice. Now, without the burden of Qin Xiaoyu, he was going to be able to clear solo much faster. Mobility and reaction were the most important things. So without hesitating for a second, Qin Feng chose the assassin class. But then something unexpected happened, and the system reported that the divine artifact Eye of Judgment had been successfully bound. The Eye of Judgment was activated. It had a passive authority. Upon entering the Forsaken game, Qin Feng was going to automatically obtain the highest ranking profession and talent. Our boy was in shock upon seeing that the Eye of Judgment had linked to him after his rebirth, realizing how it worked. As long as the artifact recognized its owner, and even if it was stolen, it would be useless, believing that perhaps this was the reason why he had been reborn. Just then, shadow began to enter his body, then his body started to change and his hair turned white, becoming a shadow. Qin Feng's appearance had changed. Shadow was the highest level hidden profession for assassins. It was completely different from the warrior profession he chose in his past life. Just obtaining this profession had already given him enormous power. Qin Feng's eyes widened in surprise when he remembered that each profession had a very small chance of unlocking its hidden higher tier profession. And the authority of judgment actually made this probability a certainty. The system activated, informing that the authority of judgment was the most genuine and ancient primordial authority in the universe. Its power surpassed rules and order. Temporarily, Qin Feng could not activate this authority actively since he did not possess divinity, but its passive effect was active. This revelation left our boy in shock. In his past life, it was not until the 7th year after the God-forsaken game descended that a powerful player managed to leave God's abandoned realm and reach the realm of order. Only then did humanity learn about the existence of the power of order. But in fact, even years later, no one obtained the power of order. Qin Feng never expected to achieve this. Now at the beginning of his journey, he had already obtained the primordial authority that surpassed order and rules. As long as he could leave God's abandoned realm and reach the realm of order to obtain divinity, he could activate this authority, now having another goal in this life. Now that the profession selection had been completed, the system asked him to enter his game alias. Qin Feng hesitated for a moment but then chose Shadow since his profession had been born from the Shadow. Qin Feng was teleported to the God's abandoned realm. This was a ruined land, full of countless monsters. He had to be careful since the monsters were ready to tear him apart and steal his lifespan. One could leave the town, kill monsters and earn tradable lifespan. But if they died in the game, they would lose half of their lifespan, both tradable and non-tradable. Qin Feng was in Shell Town, a safe zone. Here there were no monsters and players could not attack each other, and the lifespan loss speed was multiplied by 1. Many people were dragged into the game. Some had taken a nap after eating and some others had fallen asleep after a long workday, only to end up in this place. Everyone's attention was fixed on Qin Feng. No one knew what profession he had, nor why it looked so different from theirs. Seeing the dagger, some realized that he was an assassin. Soon, powerful figures from various countries were going to appear one after another, reconfiguring the order of this world. If Qin Feng wanted to get ahead of them, then he couldn't wait since practice waits for no one. Just then, 3 men and an archer were teleported back to the town. You see, if during the monster hunt players died, they would return to the town. The players were furious and panicked since the wild monsters were too strong. With one bite the monster had taken all their life. They had been fighting against a weak level 1 crawler, but even so, they had only managed to take away a third of its health together, and now that they had died, their lifespan had dropped to half. They asked the archer Lizzie what to do now. Qin Feng started observing her and remembered that archers started with short bows, realizing that she was also a hidden class. Lizzie noticed that Qin Feng was also a hidden class. With a kind smile, she asked if he wanted to team up with them. The monsters outside were really strong, and they couldn't handle them alone. Her team had already been annihilated once. so they had experience. Qin Feng refused and continued on his way. Lizzie's companions mocked him when they saw that he was pretending to be a pro. The 5 of them together had not been able to defeat the monster, so there was no way he could do it alone. According to them, Qin Feng was looking for death. Using the system, Lizzie saw that Qin Feng's alias was Shadow. While our boy was walking towards the exit of the town, Lizzie decided to follow him to see if they could find out what skills he had. She couldn't help but smile since maybe they could get new information about monsters and see how Qin Feng died. The land abandoned by the gods was a too unsettling and dangerous place. Lizzie and the others began to secretly follow Qin Feng. She did not know why she had ended up here, but with years of experience in online games, she quickly formed a group. However, the first monster they encountered outside of the town annihilated them. She knew that this monster was not an enemy that a level 1 player could defeat. Lizzie's friends were furious since Qin Feng's initial weapon was different from the group's assassin. He had a dagger, but Qin Feng had a short blade. The assassin felt envious since Qin Feng was even faster than him. But as an assassin, his agility should be the highest. Besides that, Qin Feng's clothing was different from his. Qin Feng seemed like an unusual player, so Lizzie decided to follow him as he might lead to crucial information. Qin Feng started staring at them, and upon feeling this, Lizzie quickly hid again without knowing if they had been noticed. Our boy used the shadow sneak technique and disappeared from the place without a trace, becoming a shadow. Lizzie and the others were somewhat confused to see that he had vanished into thin air. The assassin of the group realized that this was a stealth ability, an initial ability that granted invisibility. Qin Feng had become invisible. Lizzie decided to return to the town and look for ways to improve themselves. It was too dangerous to go out. They had already died once and their lifespan had already been reduced by half. They decided to look for NPCs to try to obtain hidden rewards like treasure chests. Shadow Sneak was a skill that allows the user to enter stealth for a duration. Attacking will reveal the user, and the first hit after breaking stealth deals increased damage. Stealth Mastery doubles the duration of stealth and increases the level of stealth by 1. As expected, the Shadow class was extraordinary. The stealth of a normal assassin at this level would be easy to detect, but the Shadow class had its own stealth mastery, which made it impossible for anyone, even monsters, to notice Qin Feng in the early stages of the game. Our boy couldn't help but think that Lizzie and her friends were naive since the beginner town had nothing that could really improve your strength. It was just a refuge for players. In this forsaken game, weak players were nothing more than prey for monsters. A few seconds later, Qin Feng's stealth came to an end. For now, the duration wasn't very long. Luckily, the cooldown started as soon as he activated stealth. In just a few more seconds, he would be able to disappear again. The status window of Qin Feng appeared, his codename was Shadow, and his class was also Shadow. He had a non-tradable lifespan of 75 years and 0 tradable lifespan, strength of 13 points, constitution of 13 points, agility of 18 points, and spirit of 15 points. All players started with base stats of 10. And the different classes granted additional bonuses. The warrior class he had chosen in his past life only gave him 3 points in strength and constitution. But this time, the shadow class had granted improvements to all stats, and agility had increased by 8 points. He still had 5 free attribute points to assign. Most players use their points on strength or spirit to increase physical or magical attack power, but that was a big mistake. Without losing a second, Qin Feng assigned the 5 points to agility, now being 23 points. This statistic was key since in the early game, no matter how one allocated their stats, the monsters would always deal overwhelming damage to the players, and the only way to kill monsters without taking damage was to increase agility and boost speed. Then something caught Qin Feng's attention. There was a monster behind a tree. It was a level 1 crawler with a normal grade, but it was evolving. Qin Feng became alert upon noticing that it continued absorbing lifespan. He quickly realized that this monster had been the one who had annihilated the group of 4 players. The crawler felt the presence of Qin Feng. It was somewhat injured because it had lost part of its HP. The monster attacked, but Qin Feng dodged it with a jump. When monsters killed players, they could obtain their lifespan, and if they absorbed enough, they could evolve. Qin Feng activated Shadow Sneak and unsheathed his short blade, and just before the crawler could get close, he disappeared into the air. While the crawler was trying to see where he had gone, Qin Feng appeared above and using stealth break strike, landed on top of the monster and forcefully stabbed his short blade into its head, causing 174 damage, killing the monster and gaining 10 experience points. He did not expect to be able to kill the crawler in a single blow, but then he remembered that attacking the nape of a crawler triggered a critical hit. Just then, a system window appeared informing that the skill backstab allowed doubling the damage if the attack came from outside the enemy's vision. This explained why the crawler had died in one hit. The skill backstab had stacked with multiple abilities, creating a terrible damage multiplier. Qin Feng stared at the corpse in silence. He remembered when he played as a warrior. Even a critical hit barely did 40 damage, and he had to fight for centuries just to kill a crawler, almost dying in the process. Once the monster died, it dropped a shining orb that was the lifespan. Qin Feng clenched his fist and absorbed the lifespan, gaining 3 days of tradable lifespan, and 54 years and 155 days of non-tradable lifespan. 5 people had died, each losing at least between 20 to 30 years of lifespan, adding up to a total of more than 100 years. But since the crawler had absorbed it first, Qin Feng only obtained 54 years. For now, the non-tradable lifespan was not useful. But at that moment, the authority of the Eye of Judgment was activated, granting Qin Feng the talent called Infinite Evolution. By killing monsters solo, he had the chance to earn evolution points to upgrade skills. Every 24 hours, he would gain 5 evolution points, and defeating a boss-class monster alone guaranteed evolution points. Currently, he had 5 points. He had infinite evolution and could improve his skills. In his past life, he had never heard of anything like this, no matter what equipment or skill book monsters dropped. Its grade was fixed and there was no way to improve it. This was a power beyond rules and order. Our boy decided to try it out and upgrade Shadow Sneak and Backstab. He spent 4 evolution points and the skills were successfully improved. The starting skill Shadow Sneak went from normal to bronze, and the duration increased from 12 seconds to 16 seconds. The breaking stealth attack bonus increased from 60 to 90, and the cooldown time was reduced by 2 seconds. Backstab went from inferior to normal and the damage increased by 5%. The Shadow Sneak now lasted 16 seconds, and with Stealth Mastery, it doubled to 32 seconds. With such an extended stealth duration, he could now remain invisible permanently, and if his abilities had been improved earlier, he would have been able to eliminate even a full HP crawler in a single strike. Just then, a boy who was accompanied by a woman mentioned that this game was easy since even a scrawny guy like Qin Feng had taken down a monster alone. The woman praised him, thinking that with his physique he would be able to face 10 people. The boy began to smile and promised to protect her. Qin Feng noticed that there was a monster hidden in the tree. With a confident smile, the boy asked if he wanted to team up with them. Qin Feng sensed danger and disappeared using the Shadow Sneak. Seeing this, the boy thought that his muscles had intimidated him. A spider descended to the ground, making them panic. This was the level 1 and bronze grade monster nurturer. It attacked, ending their lives. Qin Feng remembered that the nurturer was a beginner boss with 16 HP points. It was not something that a normal rookie could handle, and besides, it had many small spiders under its command. The nurturer began to feed and Qin Feng took advantage of this moment to check how strong his upgraded abilities were. Using the stealth break strike, Qin Feng stabbed his short blade into the spider's eye. It counterattacked, but Qin Feng reacted in time, and after dodging the attack, he moved away and became invisible using Shadow Sneak. Our boy's attack caused 338 damage, and in the process, he received 9 damage. He had barely escaped thanks to his agility. Qin Feng had 130 HP points, and if the spider's attack had connected, he would have died instantly. He was impressed to see that his attack had dealt more than 300 damage to the boss. The nurturer enraged and in the process split the trees in the area in half. Qin Feng was aware that these monsters were intelligent, and that the spider would not just stand still taking hits. The spider was attacking indiscriminately to identify Qin Feng's location. Now even the small spiders were on alert, so he could not rush in recklessly. While the spider was distracted, Qin Feng took the opportunity to throw a rock, which hit its abdomen directly, causing 299 points of damage. Qin Feng grabbed another rock and his assumption was correct, realizing that his main source of damage came from the bonus of the skill Stealth Ambush Strike and the class skill Enhancement, so even by throwing rocks he could still deal solid damage. All he had to do now was wait for Shadow Sneak to come off cooldown, and then throw a rock. This way, the rock was going to activate the bonuses of Ambush Strike, Backstab, and Weak Point Attack. Once Shadow Sneak came off cooldown, Qin Feng threw another rock again, dealing 279 points of damage to the spider, and then activated Shadow Sneak again. His plan was simple: stay hidden until Shadow Sneak was off cooldown, and then attack again. At the same time in the town, the leaderboard was updated, revealing that the player Shadow had killed the boss Nurturer of bronze grade, being the first to reach level 2, rising to the list as number 1. The other players were in shock since most had died to mobs and could not understand how someone had already defeated a boss. Lizzie and the others were speechless upon seeing that Qin Feng had defeated a boss and ascended to level 2, while they could not even handle normal mobs together, believing it must be a system error. The woman and the man who were attacked by the giant spider spawned in the town and were in shock upon seeing that someone had killed the big spider, realizing that Shadow was the boy they had seen earlier in the forest. Back in the forest, the system announced that Qin Feng had killed the boss Nurturer, obtaining 300 experience points and 2 evolution points. Additionally, Shell Town's level leaderboard was unlocked, granting our boy 1 reputation point. Qin Feng began to absorb the lifespan of the spider. The moment the big spider died, the small ones scattered, which was a waste. He couldn't help but regret it since he should have killed the small spiders first to gain more experience. He obtained 46 tradable lifespan and a new skill book called Greedy Hand of bronze quality, along with a corrosive dagger, which had 35 damage points and 4 agility points. After learning the skill Greedy Hand, Qin Feng could use it on defeated monsters, granting a 20% chance to obtain an additional loot reward. Qin Feng was somewhat surprised as he did not expect a bronze boss to drop this god-tier assassin skill. This skill significantly increased loot acquisition. In the late game, defeating powerful bosses would have a 20% chance of producing extra loot. According to what Qin Feng remembered from his past life, there was a guy in the Godslayer guild who had average combat strength, but just because he had this skill, he became one of the most sought-after players. He even had a personal bodyguard who escorted him everywhere. Qin Feng's eyes widened in surprise, realizing that although the activation rate was only 20%, if he combined it with his unlimited evolution talent, he would be able to infinitely increase both the drop rate and the amount of loot. The next day, the students were on their way to school. Xiaoyu's friend asked if she was not going to call Qin Feng and apologize, reminding her that yesterday they had skipped the exam to secretly go and support Song Ye. She was sure that Qin Feng must be angry with her. Xiaoyu refused since she had done nothing wrong, and because of him, they had almost missed the entrance time. According to her, Qin Feng was the one who should apologize. Her friend tried to convince her since Qin Feng treated her very well and also asked what had happened to her face. Xiaoyu stood firm in her decision since all Qin Feng did was meddle in her affairs, and she made up an excuse, saying that she had tripped and hurt her face. Upon entering the school, they saw many students gathered in front of a classroom. The friend became curious and, making her way through the crowd, entered the classroom where she saw that Zhang Wei's body was becoming semi-transparent. One of Zhang Wei's friends explained that he wasn't very sure, but just now, Wei had said he was going to take a nap, and when they turned around, he was already like this. This was not an isolated case, it was all over the internet. People from all over the world were experiencing the same phenomenon, and some experts said that if one fell asleep, they would enter a semi-transparent state like a ghost, and no one knew why. The friend went on alert and decided to call her parents to warn them and advised Xiaoyu to call her brother to warn him as well just in case. But she refused since she preferred to see him dead rather than contact him. Meanwhile, Qin Feng evolved the new skill Greedy Hand, upgrading it from bronze quality to gold. Now, when looting an enemy, the probability of obtaining an extra piece of loot increased from 20% to 70%. And thanks to this, our boy learned Greedy Hand and obtained 2 points. Qin Feng clenched his fist and activated the skill, obtaining 2 evolution points and 46 days of tradable lifespan. He was more than satisfied to have obtained 2 evolution points and knew that to upgrade Greedy Hand to level 3 he needed 3 points, and that soon he would have a 100% chance of obtaining extra loot. He knew that the governments of the world must have realized the situation by now, and more people were going to flood into the game, so he had to accelerate his progress and equip what he could use. Qin Feng equipped the corrosive dagger of bronze quality, gaining 35 attack points and 4 agility points. He activated the shadow stealth to avoid drawing attention from the monsters, knowing that it wouldn't be long before people realized that the skills and equipment from this game could be extracted into the real world. And when that happened, the world would fall into chaos. Extracting skills and equipment required 2 conditions. First, reaching level 10, and second, having enough tradable lifespan. defeating small monsters took too much time, so he decided to find stronger bosses. While he was walking through the area, he heard someone fighting, and when he went to the cliff, he saw several players fighting against a level 2 sprint predator, bronze grade. Qin Feng was planning to find stronger bosses, and now he had found a sprint predator, being a perfect timing. The monster attacked, but the player carrying a shield and mace blocked the attack without much effort. It was Wang Meng. Qin Feng did not expect to meet him here, realizing that the rumors were true. It was said that when Wang Meng first entered Forsaken Game, he had gathered an entire team of hidden class players. The 6 members of his team were hidden class users. Wang Meng summoned the Holy Barrier, creating a golden barrier to repel the monster. He had the hidden class of Holy Shield Warrior, having twice the basic stats of a normal warrior. And, as if that were not enough, he also had an innate invincibility skill. While the monster was distracted, the mage of the team summoned a fireball which hit directly against the creature's arm. She had the mage class hidden profession called Prophet, which allowed her to inflict double the magical damage of a normal mage and came with an incorporated prophetic fireball. The archer of the team had the hidden profession of the archer class called Sharp-Eyed Shotter, granting the user double the stats of a normal archer, and came with an incorporated rapid shot skill. The priest had the Oracle Priest class, having twice the healing power of a normal priest and a group healing ability. The archer and the mage attacked together, but the monster evaded the attacks without much effort and attacked Wang Meng, forcing him to retreat. The archer panicked upon seeing that the ranged attacks were not hitting, thinking that this boss was too fast. The priest healed Wang Meng, and he decided that the best way to defeat this boss was to keep attacking while the healers took care of healing. Seeing that he planned to wear down the monster's health little by little, Qin Feng thought that Wang Meng was very optimistic, but he knew that he was forgetting the most important thing. This was the wild nature, and if a battle dragged on, other monsters would be attracted. Just then, 2 monsters appeared behind Wang Meng. Qin Feng recognized them as corruptors, regular level 2 monsters covered in dark brown mud, specialized in using ranged attacks. The swordsman of the team rushed towards the monsters and attacked one of them. He had a hidden class that our boy had not seen before. The attack caused 33 points of damage, and the swordsman did not take long to realize that the defense of these monsters was very high. The corruptor vomited mud on the swordsman. It was ground bind, and now his movement speed had decreased. The other corruptor began to chase the mage, forcing her to flee with tears in her eyes. But just then, Qin Feng jumped in the blink of an eye, decapitated the monster, causing 441 points of damage, saving the mage and leaving everyone in shock. Our boy's attack was so powerful that he defeated the corruptor in a single blow. The mage became confused, not knowing who had done this and if someone was helping them. With the help of his sword, the swordsman stood up. He was in shock upon seeing that someone had eliminated a level 2 corruptor with a single blow. While on the other hand, for them to defeat a level 1 corruptor they had to join forces for 10 seconds. The corruptor tried to attack, but again, Qin Feng moved like lightning and decapitated the monster. The swordsman began to tremble with fear and asked if Lai Zai had seen who it had been. She panicked and said that she had not seen it. Wang Meng stood up and asked them not to get distracted. Deep down he hoped that Qin Feng was on their side. Now only the sprint predator remained, and our boy was watching from a branch. As a reward for having killed 2 level 2 corruptors, he obtained 40 experience points, 1 evolution point, the skill book called Venom Dart of common quality, and 8 days of tradable lifespan. Qin Feng did not waste a second and evolved Venom Dart as it was a perfect mid-range poison damage skill. Upon evolving, the skill rose to level 2, and went from common quality to silver. It allowed the user to throw a deadly poison dart with a maximum range of 14 meters, inflicting 120 attack damage points upon impact and applying the status Venom. With a cooldown of 5 seconds, the status Venom inflicted 50% continuous damage per second, lasting for 5 seconds and could not be stacked. The monster attacked again. Wang Meng managed to block the attack with his shield, but in the process, the creature stabbed its sharp limb into his stomach. Wang Meng dropped his shield and mace to the ground, and the monster took advantage to stab him with its other limb, causing him terrible pain. The archer began to tremble with fear. The priest panicked, knowing that this was not good since he could not heal fast enough. In a desperate attempt, Wang Meng asked them to flee. Qin Feng shot a dart, which lodged in the head of the sprint predator, causing 845 points of damage. The mage and the archer were in shock upon seeing that the attack had taken half of the boss's HP. Both the monster and Wang Meng began to writhe in pain, and venom started to emerge from the monster's wound until its body collapsed to the ground, causing 324 damage multiple times. Since Qin Feng had inflicted more than 90% of the damage, the loot belonged to him. And for having killed the sprint predator, he obtained 600 experience points, reaching level 3, obtaining 2 evolution points and 55 days of tradable lifespan. He did not expect that the damage over time of the venom dart would activate his class's passive ability. With stealth, he could remain invisible and throw darts indefinitely, and now nothing in the early and mid-game could stop him. The loot began to emerge from the monster's corpse. Wang Meng was in shock upon seeing the amount of damage the monster had taken, and several seconds later, the loot disappeared. Wang Meng stood up and thanked Qin Feng for saving him, but our boy made it clear that in the wildlands, one could not trust people so easily, leaving everyone in shock. Wang Meng thanked our boy for the advice, and they decided not to bother him while he was checking the loot. He also added that if he ever needed anything, he could come to find him. Qin Feng picked up the loot, realizing that Wang Meng seemed trustworthy. Plus, he had the backing of Daxia's government, which had many resources. Our boy decided to look for a stable sales channel to sell the unused loot. He used Greedy Hand, gaining 3 evolution points and 55 days of tradable lifespan, acquiring Sprint Predator's bronze quality leather greaves. Our boy equipped the leather greaves, obtaining 9 points in physical defense, 5 points in all elemental resistances, along with a 15% cooldown speed. This had been a great loot, since he still had many other class gears and skill books, and once his bag was full, he decided to return to the town and exchange everything for lifespan. His eyes began to shine with confidence, since this time his growth was 100 times faster than in his last life. Not far from the area, another team of players was being attacked by more monsters, and seeing that the number of monsters was increasing, they decided it was better to flee. But before they could do so, another much larger monster appeared, and just before the players could escape, the monster attacked with sharp vines, killing them all. The players respawned in the town and couldn't help but feel frustrated, since the monsters always appeared in groups and fled when they had low health. It was said that players had to be level 3 to leave the game, but this seemed like an impossible task. Some players thought they needed more people, since a team of 3 players was not enough, believing they should form groups of 6 or 10 players. The other player argued that this was not going to work, since he had seen a team of 10 be surrounded and wiped out. Plus, too many people were going to attract a boss, and recently, a group of 40 had activated some curse master, and it had annihilated more than 30 of them in one single strike. Lizzie's team also spawned back in the town. If the players did not reach level 3, they were going to be trapped inside the game forever. They had all ended up here after falling asleep, so in other words, only their consciousness was inside the game, and if they could not get out, their real bodies were going to starve to death. Lizzie was frustrated because she did not know why the game was so difficult. Her friend panicked, since they had already died 3 times and their non-tradable lifespan had dropped to less than 10 years, and at this rate, they were going to end up dying in real life. Despite not knowing if it was real or not, Lizzie knew that they could not afford to die again. Upon seeing that Shadow was level 3, she was somewhat confused, realizing that he must have discovered some trick. She knew they needed him to carry them to level 3 in order to escape this game. Clenching her fist, she gave the order to her team to spread the word. They had to get Shadow to help them reach level 3. She was determined to give him 10 million in cash once they returned to reality. The others were in shock, but she knew there was no way Shadow could ignore the 10 million. Back in the forest, our boy took down a level 2 polluter, earning 20 experience points and 1 evolution point. After absorbing the lifespan of the monster, Qin Feng decided that he already had enough evolution points and decided to spend the 5 points he had to evolve Greedy Hand. It improved in quality, going from platinum to emerald, increasing the probability of obtaining extra loot to 160%. And now the extra loot had a 20% probability of being 1 tier higher. Qin Feng was amazed, knowing that the effect was insane, realizing that if he kept evolving it would reach 100% or even 200%. It was raining, and something caught Qin Feng's attention. It was the monster called Curse Master, which was wandering through the forest. This monster was a bronze tier boss and was consuming vital force to advance to a silver tier boss. For Qin Feng, it was normal that this boss had annihilated a team of 40 men. For now, our boy had a full inventory, so even if he killed the monster, he wouldn't be able to pick up the loot, so for now, he decided to mark this place on the map. The boss's evolution took some time, so he thought about emptying his inventory first and coming back later. In the town, the news that someone was offering 10 million for Shadow, the #1 player on the leaderboard, to help them level up quickly had spread everywhere. People were dying, losing lifespan, so the rich had already started looking for a way to escape, meaning that the commoners were doomed. While people were chatting, Qin Feng appeared in the town, leaving everyone in shock. Using the system, he activated the market stall option, making the system announce that he was selling equipment and skills, with the stall available for only 10 minutes. The players were in shock upon seeing that he was wearing 2 pieces of bronze tier gear, and furthermore was selling 2 more. They still couldn't believe that he had killed a bronze tier boss. One of the players asked why they couldn't see Qin Feng's face. Another player explained that he had enabled the face concealment function, making the in-game appearance match the real one, so for this reason he wanted to remain mysterious. A mage approached our boy's stall and with a curious gaze asked how much for the icicle spell, to which Qin Feng replied that it was 100 days of tradable lifespan. She was Grey Rose, currently ranked 11 in Shell Town, who also had face concealment activated. For Rose, 100 days of lifespan was a lot, so she asked if he could lower the price, to which Qin Feng explained that the common tier skill icicle spell increased a mage's early farming speed, and 100 days was already a bargain. Rose asked if she could use real-world money, but Qin Feng refused to accept it, advising her that if she had cash, she could first buy tradable lifespan and then exchange it with him, and if no one offered more, he was determined not to sell the skill until she had the lifespan. She started to ponder, and then using the team channel, she asked her teammates if this was a good offer. They had leveled up to level 2 so quickly thanks to her leadership, so they showed no objections. Moreover, with this skill, they would be able to reach level 3 even faster since the most important thing was escaping first. She asked them to transfer their tradable lifespan to her, promising to send them money when they returned. She handed over the 100 days of tradable lifespan to our boy. Seeing that all of her team members were level 2, Qin Feng realized that they must have killed at least 30 or 40 crawlers. Therefore, their tradable lifespan should be much greater than 100 days. Qin Feng sold the spell, obtaining 100 days of tradable lifespan. Now his tradable lifespan went from 268 days to 368 days. Just then Lizzie appeared and was happy to have found Shadow. With a smile, she gave him an opportunity. In exchange for helping her ascend to level 3, she promised to give him 10 million in money when they returned to the real world. The other players were in shock. She was Jiang Lizzie, and in our boy's past life, she was the leader of a criminal syndicate. Later, her syndicate was annihilated by the country. With a confident smile, she said that her father was the president of Dajiang Industries, and seeing that our boy didn't believe her, she asked him to look her up. According to reports, it was said that she used cash to lure people into selling their lifespan, then kidnapped them for forced labor, and those who had resisted had been murdered in reality. Qin Feng coldly rejected the offer knowing that she was scum. Lizzie admitted that Shadow was strong in this game but revealed that no one knew how the game worked yet, so she advised him to team up with her, and in return, she would make sure he lived in luxury, cars, houses, women, and everything he wanted. Qin Feng did not change his mind and asked her to stop blocking his business. He better than anyone knew that cash was worth nothing. And soon, the only universal currency was going to be the tradable lifespan. Lizzie became arrogant and made it clear that if this were the real world, she would have given him a good lesson. With a murderous look, Qin Feng made it clear that if she said another word, he was going to kill her until her lifespan reached 0. Lizzie and her friends felt the pressure and without losing a second, they ran away from the place. A few minutes later, our boy sold the last item from his stall, the Gleam Robe of Tier Bronze. Now he had a total of 546 days of tradable lifespan, now that he had sold everything. He decided it was time to go deal with the Curse Master. He became invisible. No one knew it yet, but the tradable lifespan could extract skills into reality, and soon this forsaken game was going to plunge the real world into chaos. Along with the real world backgrounds that people once took pride in, soon only personal strength would matter. Lizzie and her team moved away from the area. They're out of breath from running, and Lizzie shares that Shadow not only turned her down but also threatened her. She vows to find and kill him once she's in the real world. While she's thinking this, a man named Mao Li Jun, also known as Lao Mao, approaches her. Lao Mao says he's at level 2 and claims he knows some tricks to level up in the game. He asks if he can take the 10 million offer that Shadow turned down to help Lizzie and her team reach level 3. Lizzie, feeling cautious, asks what Lao Mao means by tricks. Lao Mao tells Lizzie that he normally keeps his tricks a secret, but he'll make an exception for her. He explains that to level up in this situation, you should quickly allocate all your attribute points to agility. Doing this will make your running speed faster than the monsters, helping you win without getting hurt. Lizzie is shocked because she had put all her points into strength. She agrees to Lao Mao's offer but says she'll only pay him 5 million since he's not as strong as Shadow. Lao Mao accepts, mentioning that while Shadow is strong, it was odd for him to turn down such a big amount of money. Meanwhile, Qin Feng arrived at the place he had marked earlier on the map. Still in stealth mode, he notes that the monster has advanced to the silver rank, and the gray fog around it shows it's still evolving. He activates his Venom Dart ability, knowing that the monster's evolution to gold rank will take 7 or 8 hours. Not wanting to wait, he launches the Poison Dart, which hits the monster for 659 damage due to his stealth strike. The poison then continues to harm the monster at 219 points per second. He quickly jumps at the monster, using his Shadow Sneak skill, understanding that the silver boss monster's health is 2 or 3 times that of a bronze level 1. Suddenly, the monster starts gathering a massive amount of magical energy in its hands, making it grow larger. Qin Feng figured he just needed to hit the monster with his Venom Dart skill 2 or 3 times. But suddenly, the monster unleashed a powerful attack, destroying the surrounding area. He explains that this monster is a magic-type boss, with skills that deal a lot of area damage at once. After launching the Venom Dart, he quickly retreated and barely escaped the attack's range. Still invisible, he realized that with his current health and defense, he wouldn't survive if he took the monster's attack directly. As the battle continued, the monster started charging another big attack. Its massive form turned toward him, but he stayed calm, moving carefully across the battlefield while watching his cooldown timer. His hidden shadow ability wasn't ready yet, so he needed to wait for the boss to show a moment of weakness. The plan was simple: wait for the right moment, strike precisely, and disappear before the monster could hit back. Moments later, the creature stumbled, briefly distracted. This was the chance. Without waiting, he moved forward, using his Venom Dart skill. The attack hit perfectly, dealing 659 damage. Almost right away, the Venom started working, draining the monster's health by 219 damage per second. Seeing the danger, the monster tried to escape, but Qin Feng wasn't going to let it get away. He followed closely, his eyes focused and determined. The monster was nearly defeated. Its attempt to run away was useless. In a swift movement, Qin Feng vanished and reappeared on the creature's head, slamming it into the ground. The system quickly confirmed his victory. He had defeated the silver-ranked boss. A stream of notifications appeared before him. He gained a total of 1,800 experience points, and leveled up from 3 to 5 instantly. He also received 4 evolution points and a surprising 124 days of tradable lifespan. He chuckled, noticing how a single boss kill boosted him 2 levels and gave him extra evolution points. As the monster's body turned into loot, he used his evolved skill, Greedy Hand. The air shimmered as a system screen confirmed the loot was collected. The rewards were even better than he expected, with another 4 evolution points and an extra 124 days of tradable lifespan. Doubling his gains, the generous rewards made him smirk. 2 extra bonuses right away were impressive. He realized the silver-ranked boss had given him a total of 12 evolution points and 372 days of tradable lifespan. Just as he was taking in his rewards, another system prompt appeared, revealing an unexpected bonus. The secondary effect of Greedy Hand had kicked in, upgrading one of his looted items from silver to gold rarity. He looked at the notification with interest, a gold tier item. It made sense why Greedy Hand was considered a Jade level skill. It could enhance loot beyond its original quality. His focus then turned to the scattered loot. 7 or 8 pieces of gear had dropped, but he only had 10 slots left in his backpack. He sighed, realizing that running back each time he defeated a boss would waste a lot of time. He knew that a storage ring or something similar would have been perfect to solve this problem. Just as Qin Feng was about to check out a specific item among the loot, the scene suddenly shifted back to the Shell Town. There, the mage from Wang Meng's team appeared in a flash of light, her face showing relief. She was finally back, all thanks to Wang Meng. As the rest of the team followed, they thanked him, admitting that without his leadership, they wouldn't have reached level 3 and returned safely. But Wang Meng brushed off their praise, saying their progress was due to everyone's hard work. The mage, however, couldn't let go of a lingering regret. She sighed, wishing she had managed to add Qin Feng as a friend in the forest. She thought maybe it was because she had been covered in mud at the time. Her teammate reassured her with a playful grin, saying that with her new outfit, she looked great, and surely the mysterious player wouldn't reject her again. As they chatted, a system announcement echoed through the town. The leaderboard had been updated. Shadow had reached level 5. The news shocked the players in town. Someone couldn't believe how Shadow had jumped from level 3 to 5 so quickly. The only explanation was that he must have defeated a powerful boss monster. Another player mentioned that just 10 minutes ago, he saw Shadow casually selling gear in the town square. And now this. Another guy said that his sister had just turned 18, and if Shadow liked her, it would be a big win for their family since having Shadow's help with leveling up would be a game changer. His friends quickly dismissed the idea, reminding him that Shadow wasn't interested in 10 million cash, so he wouldn't be interested in a matchmaking proposal. Back at Wang Meng's camp, his team was starting to worry. They had just celebrated reaching level 3, only to find out that Shadow had already moved far ahead. But Wang Meng stayed calm. He told them to put their worries aside for now. They needed to log out, return to reality, and warn their families and friends about this dangerous game. As their bodies started to fade, the system confirmed their logout. Wang Meng's last words were serious. If the world was heading toward chaos, they had to prepare their loved ones. The scene shifted to the real world. Wang Meng's eyes opened, and a voice quickly called for the captain. He wasn't just any player. Wang Meng was a police officer. His fellow officers rushed to him, visibly worried. One admitted they were scared because his body had started to turn transparent while he was unconscious. The terrifying truth was clear. If a player died in the game or lost all their life, they didn't just log out, they disappeared from the real world. But there was no time to dwell on that horror. Wang Meng stood up and called for everyone to gather as something serious had happened. Someone asks Wang Meng about his report. Wang Meng explains that he and his team formed a party, and each member had a hidden profession, which was a big advantage in the game. Yet, they were almost wiped out by a single monster. They were only saved at the last moment by an unknown player, Shadow. Wang Meng confirms that his report is accurate. He then describes Shadow's incredible progress. When Shadow helped them, he was at level 3. But by the time Wang Meng and his team reached that level, Shadow had already moved up to level 5, a huge jump of 2 levels. This news worries the higher-ranking officers. One of them asks the obvious question, does this mean Shadow is now the strongest player in the world? How did he level up so quickly? The speculation starts, and Wang Meng suggests that maybe Shadow defeated a high-level boss monster or did something equally impressive. Another officer, curious about the details, notices an inconsistency. According to Wang Meng, Shadow was already at level 3 when he saved them. If that was true, why didn't he log out like the rest of them? Could it be that Shadow had no close family or friends waiting for him in the real world? A female officer comes up with a daring idea. She thinks Shadow might be a transmigrator, someone who shows up suddenly and gets stronger fast, as if destined for power. She says that transmigrators are often orphans, which might explain why Shadow hasn't come back to reality. Her words make the room go silent, and realizing the weight of what she said, she blushes with embarrassment. A senior officer, not impressed, calls her NEU and tells her to stop making jokes during a serious talk. He dismisses her idea, saying she's been reading too many novels. Then, shifting back to the main subject, the officer shares some crucial information. Secret reports from the higher-ups reveal that researchers are studying a worrying pattern. Many older people have been mysteriously dying in their sleep. When researchers compared this data with those who had returned from the forgotten game of the gods, they found something alarming. It turned out that those who died in their sleep had also died multiple times in the game. This shows a scary truth. If a player's lifespan hits 0 in the game, they don't just die there, they die in real life too. One officer shares his worry, saying the forgotten game of the gods is an anomaly, something way beyond what they understand. The head officer agrees, suggesting that they might be facing an invasion by unknown beings from higher dimensions. The room goes quiet as everyone takes in this heavy thought. Without delay, the head officer moves on to urgent matters. He tells everyone that the higher-ups, probably the government, have given an emergency order. All officers must form vanguard teams based on their locations, enter the forgotten game of the gods, and gather as much information as they can. This is no longer just a police issue. The government is setting up a special force to handle this unique crisis. He highlights the global scale of the problem. Every nation is rushing to explore and understand this new reality, and falling behind would mean losing international standing. For national security, they must gather information at all costs. The head officer then announces his decision. NEU will be the captain of Team 1. She accepts the role without hesitation. Wang Meng is appointed as her vice captain. and they are given the power to pick their team members. Wang Meng nods, understanding how important their mission is. The head officer then turns his attention to Shadow, the mysterious player Wang Meng met. Based on Wang Meng's story, Shadow doesn't seem to have bad intentions. Because of this, the head officer orders NEU and Wang Meng to try and befriend him. Their goal is to find out who Shadow really is and work with him. He explains why NEU is in charge. Her deep knowledge of games and stories makes her the best choice to investigate someone like Shadow, whose abilities and actions seem almost like those in myths. The head officer hopes that NEU and Wang Meng can make Shadow an ally, someone who could represent them in the game. If they succeed, they will get access to vital information that could give them a strategic edge. The other police officers are tasked with keeping public order and stopping any mass panic. With that, the meeting ends. As the sun sets and casts a golden glow over the city, the officers get ready for the challenges ahead. The next day, the scene shifts to a high school where the protagonist's younger sister sits at her desk, lost in thought. Around her, students chat excitedly about recent news. A small group nearby talks about a surprising discovery. Chang Wai, the student whose body had started to vanish, has reached level 3 in the game and logged out safely. One of the girls shares that Chang Wai revealed something important. If several people from the same district fall asleep at the same time, they will all end up in the same starter village in the game. This news stirs both excitement and worry among the students. Another girl, alarmed, insists that this won't work. She feels she must bring her parents into the game. They have no gaming experience, and she's scared something might happen to them if they enter unprepared. But another student disagrees, saying they shouldn't rush to involve their parents yet. They should focus on getting stronger first, so they can protect their families when needed. Meanwhile, the protagonist's younger sister looks at her phone, deep in thought. A nagging frustration grows inside her. Why hasn't her brother reached out to her yet? With something as big as the forgotten game of the gods happening, she expected at least one message from him. But there's been nothing. He hasn't checked on her or even apologized for hitting her earlier. That was completely unlike him. In the past, whenever they argued or she upset him, he would always find a way to make peace. But today, there was only silence. No apologies, no attempts to make things right. Even their parents had never laid a finger on her, yet he, her brother, had struck her. Still upset, she tries to justify her actions. All she did was skip class to see Song Fi's concert. Was that really such a big deal? She pouts, deciding that unless her brother calls and apologizes at least 1,000 times, she will never forgive him. Her annoyance quickly turns into excitement as she starts talking about Song Fi. Looking back, she's glad she went to see him yesterday. Once the forgotten game of the gods takes over, she might not have many chances to go to his concerts. A dreamy look appears on her face as she remembers last night, thinking about how close she was to him during the show. She pictures Song Fi on stage and can't help but gush over how amazing he was. Then, she realizes something. If everyone enters the game world while sleeping, that means Song Fi will too. Her face turns red as she imagines meeting him in the game. Could this be her chance? Is fate finally bringing them together? Her heart beats faster at the thought. As she gets ready to sleep, she suddenly remembers something. Chang Wai had reached level 3 really fast. That meant he was probably already an expert. If she wanted to do well in the game, she needed some good advice. So, without hesitating, she sends Chang Wai a message, asking if he has any helpful tips before she enters the game world. Meanwhile, Chang Wai is with his classmates when he gets her message. He looks at his phone and smiles. He's amazed by the situation. Who would have thought that someone like the protagonist's younger sister would ask him for advice? He sees this as a great opportunity. This was his chance, whatever that meant. Chang Wai quickly replies, saying she's asked the right person. He shares an important game secret. At the start, she should put all her attribute points into agility. If she doesn't, she won't be fast enough to escape monsters and will keep dying. She asks if this is true even if she chooses a mage class. Chang Wai assures her it is. Agility is useful for mages too, he explains, because it boosts casting speed, which is key early on. Still unsure, she asks what if she still can't win after improving her agility. Chang Wai confidently tells her not to worry. As long as someone in their village reaches level 5, the village's teleportation formation will activate, connecting all the starter villages. Once that happens, she can just join a random party to help her level up, and he will come find her when the teleportation circle is active. Hearing this, she feels very happy. Lying on her bed, she smiles to herself, thinking how handy people like Chang Wai are. Just like that, she's found someone to help her out. As she starts to fall asleep, another thought pops up. This is great. She'll get into the game before her brother, level up quickly, and become strong. When her brother finally joins, she'll make sure he has a tough time. No help, no support, he'll have to manage on his own. Happy with her plan, she drifts into sleep, excited for the adventure ahead. The scene shifts back to the game where the protagonist stands over the loot from a defeated boss monster. Among the treasures, a glowing orb catches his attention. As he picks it up, a system notification pops up, saying he has obtained the cursed ring, a gold tier item. The system then details its attributes. The ring can be used by anyone and gives a boost of 8 points to all attributes. It also increases dark elemental resistance by 26 points and makes weak point attacks 1.5 times stronger. But you need to be at least level 4 to wear it. Looking at the benefits, the protagonist sees that the total boost is 32 points, similar to leveling up 3 times. Plus, the ring's dark resistance will be helpful against many enemies, and the weak point attack boost is a nice bonus. Knowing this, he sees the cursed ring as a valuable item for his journey. Before he can think more about his new item, another system notification shows up, saying he's learned a new skill called Instant Shadow Slash, a silver tier assassin type ability. The system explains how it works. When used, the skill sends out multiple slashes in one direction, reaching up to 15 meters. It also gives temporary invincibility for 5 seconds, hitting all enemies in a 2.1 meter wide path 3 times. Each hit deals 100 damage and counts as a backstab, but it doesn't hit weak points. The skill has a 12-second cooldown. Seeing how useful this ability is, the protagonist knows it's a strong area attack with the bonus of temporary invisibility. He quickly learns the skill. With some evolution points left, he decides to improve one of his key skills, Greedy Hand. The system takes 8 evolution points and upgrades the skill from Jade rank to Diamond rank. The effects of Greedy Hand get a big boost. The chance of getting extra loot from defeated monsters goes up from 160% to 220%. And the chance of that loot being upgraded by 1 level increases from 20% to 40%. Thinking about this upgrade, the protagonist realizes that with this improvement, he'll now get 2 pieces of loot per enemy, making each kill 3 times as rewarding. Not wanting to waste his remaining evolution points, he upgrades Instant Shadow Slash by 3 levels. The system takes 3 evolution points, leaving him with just 1. The skill quickly evolves, moving from silver rank to gold rank, and finally reaching platinum rank. The skill's attack range has expanded, growing from 15 meters to 21 meters, allowing for greater reach. The invisibility now lasts 7 seconds, giving him a bit more time to stay safe. The number of slashes has increased from 3 to 5, hitting all enemies in its wider 3.1 meter path. The cooldown is slightly shorter, going from 12 seconds to 10.43 seconds, which makes it a bit more efficient but still needs careful use. Each strike now deals 200 damage, doubling its previous strength. Every attack counts as a backstab, triggering the backstab skill effect, even though it can't hit weak points. Seeing these upgrades, the protagonist knows that while the cooldown isn't much shorter, the skill's ability to keep him invisible longer can be a big advantage in fights. Looking at the rest of the loot, he quickly sees that most of it isn't useful. But one item stands out, a silver tier warrior skill book, Battle Roar. He knows selling it will give him more tradable lifespan. Just as he finishes checking the loot, he notices something moving. Turning around, he sees 3 huge creatures coming toward him. Without delay, he recognizes them as level 4 limb crawlers, ugly and dangerous monsters. Instead of being scared, he sees this as a great chance to try out his improved skill. He quickly activates Instant Shadow Slash. In a flash, he becomes a blur, launching a series of fast slashes that cut through the creatures with ease. The limb crawlers are torn apart before they can even react. As the dust settles, a system notification pops up, confirming their defeat. The system records his win, giving him 80 experience points and an extra 5 days of tradable lifespan as a reward. Standing in the aftermath, a dark, intimidating aura surrounds the protagonist. He calmly thinks about his new power, realizing that his ability to defeat enemies has greatly improved. He thinks about a strategy, figuring that if he uses his poison dart skill with Instant Shadow Slash, he could win battles before they even start. Checking his tradable lifespan, he sees he has 618 days, but to bring his game skills and gear into the real world, he needs at least 900 days, or about 2.5 years. With that goal in mind, he plans his next steps. First, sell all the valuable items in his inventory. If things go well, he might reach the required lifespan sooner. Once he hits level 10, he can finally connect the virtual and real worlds. The scene shifts to the protagonist heading back to the starter town, invisible thanks to his latent image skill. Moving quietly, he hears a conversation nearby. A man congratulates a woman on reaching level 3 and reminds her of a promise. Watching them, he sees that it's Lizzie and Lao Mao. Their talk reveals a deal they made before. Lao Mao had agreed to help the Lizzie reach level 3 so she could log out of the game, in return for 5 million in cash. Now that she's reached her goal, Lao Mao is expecting his payment. Lizzie reassures him, asking if he really thinks her father's company, Du Young Industry, can't spare such a small amount. She tells him she'll log out and handle the transaction in the real world. Before leaving, she gives Lao Mao her phone number and tells him to contact her after he logs out. She then makes another offer. She wants to buy all of his tradable lifespan, offering 10,000 in cash for each day's worth. Lao Mao eagerly agrees, excited about the money he'll make. With a smug look, he remarks on how foolish King Fen was for turning down Lizzie's offer, saying they can talk more about the deal when they meet in reality. Unseen by them, King Feng moves silently between them, hidden in plain sight. Lao Mao, unaware of King Feng's presence, dismisses the importance of lifespan in the game. He thinks there's no need to worry since he can gather lifespan just as easily as in-game currency. For him, turning game achievements into real-world money is the best strategy, and he feels clever for figuring this out. The scene shifts to the starter town, where King Feng stands in front of the teleportation gate. As he stretches out his hand, the gate glows with bright blue energy. As the light grows stronger, a system window appears, congratulating him for activating the teleportation formation in Shell Town and awarding him 1 reputation point. The system explains that he can use the teleportation gate once a day for free, but using it more will cost tradable lifespan. However, since no other teleportation gates in the game are active yet, it's not useful right now. King Feng thinks about the teleportation system, knowing it's a two-way setup. Just activating one side doesn't help. Another player in a different starter town needs to reach level 5 and activate their gate for it to work. He remembers that in his past life, Song Fi was in Firefly Town. To stay ahead, he sets up an altar that will alert him as soon as someone activates the Firefly Town gate. He's not just waiting, he's getting ready. The moment that gate is active, he'll be prepared to face Song Fi. As he moves deeper into the city, his thoughts are on his main goal. While teleporting between towns is important to most players, he knows the real challenge is still ahead. His true aim is to reach level 10 and enter the God's Abandoned Realm, where he can finally activate his authority. Only then will the real challenge of the God-forsaken game begin. A bit later, he sets up his shop, and a system notification appears, letting all nearby players know that he's selling equipment and skills, but only for 10 seconds. It's a first-come, first-served chance. The reaction is immediate. Players get excited, rushing toward him and calling him an expert. Some say they've been waiting for this moment, saving up tradable lifespan just for this. One player proudly mentions he has saved up 150 days worth, while another remembers that the last time King Feng set up shop, he sold an icicle spell, which helped Gray, the buyer, climb to second place in the rankings. Another player, thrilled, discovers a silver tier skill book called Battle Roar, a warrior-only ability, and decides to buy it without a second thought. A system notification pops up, confirming the Battle Roar skill book has been sold for a huge 300 days worth of tradable lifespan. The players around are stunned. One questions if a single skill book is really worth that much. Another player dismisses him, explaining that Battle Roar greatly increases a warrior's ability to farm monsters. With this skill, the 300 days of tradable lifespan can be earned back in less than 2 days, making it a very smart buy. Understanding the value of what King Feng offers, the rest of the players rush forward, desperate to buy anything before it's gone. In just a few seconds, everything is sold out. Looking at his system window, King Feng checks his earnings. In just 1 minute, he gathered 650 days of tradable lifespan, bringing his total to 2,174 days. But he's still not satisfied. To bring his attributes, skills, and equipment into the real world, he needs much more lifespan. Meanwhile, some players complain about not getting a chance to buy anything. They ask if he'll set up shop here again, and he confirms he will. Suddenly, a female player calls out to him, saying she has a treasure and asks if he's interested in making a deal. As he turns to look, he recognizes her. She's one of Wang Meng's teammates. The system quickly identifies the treasure as a space ring with 12 inventory slots. It adds that the ring doesn't take up King Feng's backpack or equipment slot. King Feng is momentarily taken aback. He knows the true value of the space ring. It's a rare storage item that doesn't use up a ring or backpack slot. Since players can only carry up to 3 storage backpacks, an item like this is invaluable. He understands that while space rings can technically drop from any monster, the chance is incredibly low. The fact that this girl, with her prophet profession, got one so early in the game is amazing. Her luck is incredible. Without delay, he asks for the price of the ring, already figuring out its true worth. In his past life, a 12-slot space ring like this sold for an astounding 3,600 days worth of tradable lifespan. But instead of asking for lifespan, the girl surprises him with her offer. She doesn't want his lifespan at all. Instead, she asks him to add her as a friend and team up with her to defeat a boss monster. King Feng agrees right away, and a system notification pops up, confirming that player Big Plum has accepted his friend request. As they leave Shell Town, King Feng asks Plum about the boss monster she needs help with. Plum explains it's a gold-tier boss, but she didn't catch its name because it was too far away. She says it's located on a worn-out boat in the swamp. King Feng is surprised. Could it be the Golden Ghost ship? He knows this ship is a rare special boss that can show up at any level. Its appearance rate is very low, but when it appeared in the past, it caused big guilds to fight fiercely over the strong gear it dropped. Just spotting this monster could start a big battle. But from what Plum says, he thinks this version of the Golden Ghost ship is probably around level 5, making it the easiest to beat. Still, he wonders how Plum found such a rare boss so near the starting town. His mind races as he tries to figure it out. The space ring, her link to Wang Meng's team. A gold-tier boss showing up as if by luck. A thought hits him. Could she be the rumored koi fish from his past life? He recalls whispers from before. People said someone in Wang Meng's team had crazy luck, finding rare bosses, treasure chests, hidden palaces, and ancient temples just by wandering. He used to think it was just a cover-up to hide their real info. But now, looking at Plum, he realizes the rumors were true, and she's right in front of him. Deep in thought, he stares at her, trying to understand what it all means. Plum notices his gaze, blushes, and asks why he's looking at her like that. Snapping back, King Feng tells her it's nothing and focuses back on their journey. As they step past the main gate of the starting town, they don't notice a figure lurking nearby. A bald player hides behind a tree, watching their every move. The scene shifts to a group of tough-looking players, where a long-haired man stands in front of a bunch of bald players, speaking with authority. He talks about his past victories, like leading his team to conquer the Overlord of Sand City. With confidence, he tells the bald players that if they follow him, he will make sure they succeed in the game. Before he can say more, the bald player who is watching King Feng runs back and reports that the target has left town with a girl. The boss smirks. He laughs at the news, thinking King Feng is just another young guy, easily distracted by a pretty face. Without delay, he gathers his group and orders them to move out. It's time to make their move. Meanwhile, outside the town, as they continue their journey, King Feng talks about his conditions for helping Plum's party. He says that if the boss drops equipment or skill books Plum can use, they will go to her, but the rest will be his. Plum thinks about this for a moment and then asks what the other party members, like Wang Meng, will get from this deal. King Feng explains that since the party has different roles, there's no promise that gear for an assassin will drop. If that happens, he would have fought for nothing, which wouldn't be fair. Understanding his point, Plum agrees to his terms but has a small request. If any gear drops for her captain or other party members, she asks if he would sell it to her at a discount. King Feng agrees. With the terms set, Plum says they will go to the boss's location once Wang Meng and the rest of her party log back into the game. But after walking for a while, she realizes she doesn't know where they're going. It's only when King Feng finally tells her their destination that she understands. They are going to fight the gold-tier boss monster now. Plum is shocked. The idea seems crazy. King Feng is an assassin, and she is a mage. He might turn invisible, but she can't take a hit from such a strong enemy. Facing a gold-tier boss this early with just the two of them sounds like a death wish. But King Feng stays calm and confident. He doesn't plan for her to fight at all. His plan is to tackle the boss alone while she watches from a safe distance. Even with his confidence, Plum finds it hard to believe. She knows he's strong, but beating a gold-tier boss solo is unheard of. Just as she gets ready to question him more, King Feng suddenly stops, sensing something. Without a word, he uses his latent image skill, and he disappears into thin air. Plum is left there, stunned. She looks around, trying to understand what just happened. Moments ago, he was next to her, and now there's only empty space. Confused, she calls out for him, but there's no answer, just silence. Meanwhile, hidden behind a tree, the group of bald-headed players keeps watching King Feng and Plum from afar. Their leader smirks, sure they have the upper hand. But then one of the players notices something odd. King Feng has vanished. Confused, they look to their boss for what to do. Without a second thought, he dismisses it, thinking King Feng must have tricked Plum and left her alone. Grinning wickedly, he orders his men to move in, planning to capture Plum first and have some fun before anything else. As they rush forward, their boss reminds them of his promise that sticking with him means a good life. Now, he claims, even women are falling into their laps. But just as they get close, a shadowy figure appears right in front of them. The leader stops, his grin fading as he looks into the swirling dark aura before him. Confusion flashes in his eyes. What is this? Before he can react, King Feng uses his instant shadow slash skill, and in a blink, it's over. A cold gleam slices through the air, and the group falls, lifeless. Their bodies drop, torn apart before they even know what's happening. King Feng, as if stepping back into the shadows, disappears without a trace. A system notification pops up, confirming his kills. 5 players down, earning him 12 days of tradable lifespan. He glances at the bodies but doesn't give them much thought. Their loot is worthless, barely worth noting. To him, killing them was like taking down 2 low-level monsters. Without a trace of what just happened, King Feng reappears next to Plum, looking indifferent. Plum, still in the dark about what occurred, immediately asks about his sudden disappearance. King Feng shrugs, saying a few people were following them, so he sent them back to town. Plum seems satisfied at first, but her curiosity kicks in, and she starts asking questions. She jokes that she thought he left to relieve himself and muses about how handy his invisibility must be. With it, she jokes he could do his business without being seen. King Feng cuts her off, clearly not amused by the odd turn in the conversation. He tells her to focus and hurry up. They need to get to the gold tier boss monster. At the same time in Shell Town, the ground began to shine. And just then, King Feng's sister spawned as a healer. Her eyes widened in surprise upon seeing a magic staff. She picked up the staff, realizing that everything was real, so much so that she could even feel things. The player's attention was fixed on her, realizing that she was another newcomer. She was happy since she had obtained the hidden class sacrifice, thinking that it must be very powerful. She firmly believed that with this class she was going to capture Song Fei's attention. She was worried about knowing where Song Fei was right now and if he knew the secret about the starting points. Her eyes began to shine with rage at the thought of where King Feng might have gone. He was always looking after her all day, but when the critical moment arrived, he couldn't be trusted at all. She decided to stop thinking about it since she now had a hidden class and Jiang Wei had promised to help her level up. From now on, King Feng would have to manage on his own because she was not going to worry about him. Her attention fixed on the leaderboard, leaving her in shock upon seeing that rank 1, Shadow, was level 6. She was furious because Jiang Wei was only level 3, and yet dared to boast about how powerful he was. Realizing that Shadow was the true expert, she thought that if she could stick close to Shadow, she would be able to level up faster than with Jiang Wei. But a question came to her mind: where should she go to find that expert? Not far away, there was a group of players talking. They were worried because they couldn't contact Swaying, the healer of the party. It was Wang Men's team. He knew they didn't have time to wait for him, so he asked if anyone had any ideas. One of them, somewhat concerned, explained that they couldn't kill mobs without a healer. The other player argued that they weren't experts like Shadow, who could farm alone, suggesting finding another healer to party up. While they were trying to find a solution, someone greeted them, and when they turned around, they saw King Feng's sister. For her, this opportunity was perfect. With a smile, she asked if they needed a healer, revealing that she had the hidden class life sacrifice. Meanwhile, in the forest, King Feng and Plum were on top of a cliff with a swamp at the bottom, where they saw the Golden Ghost ship lurking. Using Shadow Sneak, King Feng disappeared into the air, asking Plum to hide and be careful of ambushes while he went to take care of the boss. Plum, somewhat confused, nodded but asked him to be careful. Our boy descended onto the swamp, and a system window appeared informing that due to the influence of Ghost Ship, this area had become a violent domain, with a rate loss of lifespan of 100 times. Doing quick calculation, King Feng realized that at a speed 100 times greater than time, staying here for 15 minutes was equivalent to consuming 1 day of lifespan. For him, this kind of violent temporal domain did not have a great effect. The system detected that the Golden Tier Ghost Ship was a level 5 boss, and then something unexpected happened. A timer of 45 minutes and 25 seconds appeared. King Feng was somewhat surprised to see that there was a time limit to defeat special bosses like this, but he felt fortunate since there were still 45 minutes left. It was more than enough time to kill it. Using instant shadow slash, King Feng moved like thunder, attacking the boss with powerful slashes, causing a total of 15-0 damage. While the boss was trying to understand what was happening, King Feng deactivated Shadow Sneak and launched the Venom Dart, which hit the ship's bell directly, activating Critical Hit and Stealth Break Strike. While the poison was causing continuous damage, King Feng distanced himself from the boss. To climb at the Golden Ghost ship, there were some challenging points. First of all, many people did not know what its weakness was and believed it had to be its skeletal body, or the ship. But in reality, the weak point was the Ghost Fire Bell located at the tip of the ship. The boss enraged because when its weakness was attacked, it controlled the surrounding water. The boss prepared a massive AoE attack, making pillars made of water emerge. Evading the attacks, King Feng began to approach the boss. The water pillars had abnormally high damage, and early-stage warriors wearing silver armor sets could barely take a hit. He was happy since his Shadow class had high agility, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to dodge. At that moment, hands emerged from the swamp. Decaying zombies known as ghosts began to surface. King Feng remembered that once the AoE attack ended, the boss would summon 12 decaying water ghosts, each with a silver tier capability. Thanks to Shadow Sneak, the ghosts couldn't sense King Feng's presence as he stood right in their midst. The 12 decaying water ghosts were about to attack savagely, and most parties would be in a frenzy by then. And as if that weren't enough, the Golden Ghost ship would summon a decaying water ghost every 3 minutes. If you weren't fast enough in dealing with them, their numbers would only increase more and more, resulting in total party elimination. But since he had been invisible from the start, they wouldn't be able to detect him. He just needed to find the perfect angle. Using instant shadow slash, he started moving quickly and destroying all the ghosts at once. While our boy was taking care of the monsters, Plump was watching from the cliff. She was trembling and red, realizing that this was the power of the ranked 1 expert, Shadow. To her, he was too powerful since he appeared and disappeared without a trace. In the blink of an eye, he had already taken more than half of the boss's health without even giving it a chance to counterattack. But to her surprise, King Feng communicated with her through chat and, calling her by the nickname Little Black, revealed that he was going to die in a while, leaving her in shock. With a confident expression, King Feng said that there was nothing to worry about and the only thing she had to do was wait for him to revive. Plump panicked as she thought our boy had the advantage, and also asked who Little Black was. Calmly, King Feng asked if she wasn't Little Black. She explained that her nickname was Big Plum and not Little Black, which sounded like a dog's name. Someone stomped on the ground forcefully. It was the man our boy had killed before. This time he had brought his entire team and was furious for having been careless. In his glory days, he used to kill legends one after another, but now he was being bullied by a little girl. One of his men appeared running with good news. He had found the girl on the cliff, revealing that Shadow's bastard was challenging the boss alone at the bottom of the cliff. The leader was filled with determination and thought they could kill him since this time he had brought his entire team. In the swamp, the boss was furious and the ship's bell was shining. King Feng was in stage 4 and the most difficult to deal with. The boss raised the ore, creating powerful waves. When it was at half health, it launched massive AoE Soul Surge. The waves started traveling through the swamp, making Plump's eyes expand in fear. The Soul Surge disabled our boy's invisibility skill, and something started emerging under his feet. In the next second, a powerful giant pillar of water trapped his body, taking away 1059 points of damage. The system confirmed his death. Our boy lost 326 years of non-tradable lifespan and 1087 days of tradable lifespan. The leader, who was on the cliff, was pleased thinking that King Feng had become arrogant after being called an expert several times. To him, our boy was a fool for believing he could challenge a gold boss alone. Seeing King Feng's lifespan lying on the ground, he and his men started running like mad towards it. They didn't know Shadow was so rich, realizing that such a large orb of light must contain at least 100 days of lifespan. They decided to kill the boss now that it had low health, believing that at the same time they could collect our boy's lifespan. But once they took another step, they appeared in the sky. The leader was confused, not knowing what was happening. He and his men were teleported back to Shell Town. They felt frustrated without knowing why this boss was so powerful, and how the player Shadow had attacked it until leaving it at half health. Some were furious since just after entering the swamp, the boss had instantly killed them with the water pillar, not to mention that the swamp was full of small mobs. For them, there was no way to fight this. The leader gritted his teeth and refused to believe this. They had suffered great losses, so he gave the order to his men to follow him as he wanted to try again. At the same time, someone jumped. It was King Feng who had already returned to the swamp. He felt somewhat confused upon seeing so much lifespan dropped on the ground. Using the chat, he informed Little Black that he was already back and also asked why there were so many lifespan light orbs. Little Black was somewhat surprised to see how quickly he had returned, explaining that the lifespan belonged to a group of people who had charged noisily against the boss, only to be wiped out by the water pillar. Qin Feng couldn't help but smile upon seeing that they had overestimated their own strength, but then he remembered that in his past life, he had also suffered a lot because of Ghost Ship. The boss was still roaming around the area. King Feng began to observe it, knowing that the golden ghost ship was only going to use the immobilization skill once, so the rest of its health was very easy to handle. When it received damage while below half health, there was a fixed probability that it would disappear and reappear far away, making it very difficult for normal players to kill it. Without wasting another second, King Feng launched a poison dart, which hit the ship's bell directly. The boss became enraged and began to summon another attack. Seeing this, King Feng used Shadow Sneak and became invisible. After carefully observing the boss's movements, King Feng used Instant Shadow Slash and attacked quickly since he had long seen through its movement patterns. The leader and his men arrived at the cliff again. One of them informed his boss that King Feng was fighting against the boss again. Upon hearing this, he decided to find an opportunity to take down both. Seeing that the group of idiots had returned to cause trouble again, Little Black got angry. Shadow was about to kill the boss, so she decided not to let these bastards get away with it. She gripped the magic staff tightly and concentrated. Making thunder appear, a thunderbolt emerged from the magic staff, falling on the men, charring their bodies and leaving the others in shock. The leader, somewhat furious, asked who was attacking him. One of his men began to point at Little Black with his finger, informing that it had been her. He picked up his axe from the ground and gave the order to his men to kill her. Seeing this, Little Black's eyes filled with fear. She started running, asking for help. The leader and his men began chasing her, swearing to kill her. Not far from the area, a man who was hiding behind a tree began to observe them. He was not alone. There was another man behind him. Upon noticing that Little Black and the others were approaching, they hid again behind the tree. Back at the swamp, King Feng distanced himself from the boss, his gaze fixed on it, realizing that it was almost dead. But it was as he had expected. Despite being only a level 5 boss, the golden ghost ship was difficult to kill alone. He knew that his damage was very low. The battle had taken too long, attracting many people to spectate. Noticing that there were people on the cliff, he realized they were those who had just died. Additionally, he noticed that there was also a group beside the swamp waiting for him to kill the boss before killing him and seizing his loot. The poison started to take effect on the boss, making its eyes start to shine, and not many after, its body started to disappear. The system announced the death of the golden ghost ship of gold grade, granting King Feng as a reward 48 experience points. He ascended to level 8, obtaining 7 evolution points and 216 days of tradable lifespan. Our boy activated Shadow Sneak. It had been a good dream, but it was a shame that it had miscalculated. A general system notification sounded everywhere, revealing that the player Shadow from Shell Town had been the first on the server to kill a gold grade boss, receiving 3 reputation points. The notification caught the attention of all the players in the area. No one knew who Shadow was or why he was so strong. Others were furious since the first person to kill the gold grade boss had to be from Han City. In Shelltown, Wang men looked at the system notification with confusion, as it had only been a short time since Shadow was fighting against the bronze boss by himself. Only a short time had passed and he had already killed a gold boss solo. He did not know why the difference between Shadow and the others was so great. King Feng's sister's eyes began to shine with determination. Realizing that Shadow really was the strongest, she thought that if Shadow helped her level up, then she would be able to see Brother Song Fei. The body of the boss disappeared, leaving lifespan and loot on the ground. The boss of the group that was hiding behind the tree couldn't help but smile upon seeing that the boss had dropped so much loot. With a wicked expression, he realized that Shadow had hidden using invisibility without taking the loot, realizing that he must be wary of them. He gave Guang the order to release his skill and find Shadow. They were going to kill King Feng and take the gold boss's loot for themselves. Guang nodded his head, then drew his bow, used the skill called Phantom Horned Eagle, and shot an arrow toward the swamp, which transformed into the ghost of an eagle. The eagle flew until it exploded, causing its feathers to start falling over the swamp. King Feng began observing them carefully. He did not expect this hunter to learn this anti-invisibility ability so quickly. For him, it was no surprise that they were so confident in killing him and seizing his loot, but it was a pity that his assassin class came with an extra point in invisibility level. Guang's skill was level 1, so it could not break his skill. Confident, Guang turned to the boss, informing that Shadow must have fled after seeing so many of them. The boss and his men began to advance towards the loot. Deciding to protect the loot first, he asked his men not to be careless and to prepare for battle at any moment. The ownership of the boss's loot was 5 minutes. After the time ended, the loot was going to be theirs. A proud smile appeared on their faces, but just then, Shadow began to emerge, making their eyes widen in fear. Just before they could react, King Feng moved like thunder, taking everyone down. Now that the atmosphere was quieter, King Feng's attention focused on the loot. But then a question came to his mind: where had Little Black gone? He decided to forget about it and find her later. For now, he had enough evolution points to upgrade Greedy Hand, so he decided to upgrade the skill before obtaining the loot. Greedy Hand went from being diamond quality to epic. It could be used on monster corpses, having a 220% to 300% probability of obtaining an extra loot drop. The extra loot had a 100% probability of being 1 tier higher. Our boy picked up the loot. He was determined to use the 100% chance to gather all the light together and squeeze them. Greedy Hand started to absorb the loot, making a smile appear on King Feng's face. A bright light began to emerge from the forest, and after using Greedy Hand, he obtained 21 evolution points, 648 days of tradable lifespan, and 2 special items called Ghostfire Bell. King Feng's eyes widened in surprise upon seeing that he had obtained 2 Ghostfire Bells. It was a special item. After equipping it, King Feng would not lose lifespan upon dying, with a cooldown time of 1560 seconds. It had 2 skills, 1 passive and 1 active. Soul Absorption was passive. When killing monsters, the amount of dropped lifespan would increase by 20%, and having 2 Ghostfire Bells at the same time would double this effect. Soul Shock was an active skill. He could shake the bell to immobilize all enemies within a 100-meter radius for 3 seconds, with a cooldown of 512 seconds. The Ghostfire Bell was not considered equipment. It was an item. It did not take up 2 equipment slots, and 2 Ghostfire Bells only occupied 1 inventory slot, making it very convenient. While he was distracted, Little Black contacted him through chat asking him to come save her. Shadow became alert and asked with a worried expression where she was. King Feng, somewhat worried about knowing where Little Black was, the only thing he heard through the voice chat were her screams asking them not to come near her. Little Black was very scared since the leader and his men had already cornered her. They praised her for having strong resistance, but revealed that there was nowhere to escape, advising her to come over calmly, promising that they were going to make her feel so good that she would ascend to heaven. She clenched her fist, and when she looked back she saw that she was at the edge of the cliff, determined not to give these bastards the kill. Without thinking too much about it, she threw herself backward off the cliff, leaving the leader and the others in shock. Her body began to descend rapidly until it forcefully hit the ground, causing her terrible pain and making a pool of blood appear. Her body began to disappear and turn into lifespan. The leader peeked over the cliff and felt somewhat confused upon seeing that she had really jumped, thinking that she was quite resolute. Little Black informed our boy that he no longer needed to save her, since she had died and returned to the town. She felt relieved, as it was good that the tradable lifespans of their party were all on Captain Wang Meng. King Feng felt relieved and asked Little Black to wait for him there, as he was going to pass the stuff to her. She felt happy and praised our boy for having worked hard. He collected all the lifespan that was in the area. This time he had 1 big. His tradable lifespan had reached 3115 days, and he even had 21 evolution points. He decided to use the points and evolve Greedy Hand. A system window appeared, informing that the skill Greedy Hand had already reached epic. It required 10 times the evolution points to keep evolving. The system asked if he wanted to spend 210 evolution points to evolve this skill. King Feng was not surprised. For him this was to be expected. It was not so simple. The higher the level of the skill, the more evolution points it consumed to evolve. He decided to forget about it and first raise his attack skills, since the higher his damage, the stronger the boss he could face would be, and in this way, he would be able to receive better loot. He concentrated and instant shadow slash went directly from platinum to diamond. The attack range of the skill increased from 21 meters to 27. The duration of invisibility stayed increased from 7 seconds to 9. Now he could perform 7 slashes on all enemies along the way instead of 5 slashes, with a total duration of 10 seconds. The length of the slash increased from 3.1 meters to 4.1 meters, and now each slash would cause 300 additional damage instead of 200. He used 10 evolution points and now only had 3 points left. The initial skill backstab enhancement went from normal to gold, skipping bronze and silver. When using backstab, damage would increase by 30% instead of 15%. King Feng was happy since after evolving instant shadow slash twice, its damage had doubled. Even if he was not in stealth mode, and without breaking the stealth, he could inflict 3,000 points of damage. And if the stealth was broken and backstab was performed, the total damage of 7 slashes could reach between 6,000 and 7,000. Using the system window, our boy started analyzing his skills. He remembered that the gold tier boss dropped from 2 to 4 silver equipment, with a small chance of dropping gold equipment. Now, due to the effects of Greedy Hand, he had received 11 gold equipment in skill books, 2 platinum equipment, and 1 platinum skill book. This loot was not bad at all since 3 of them could be used by assassin types. Among the equipment was the Ghost Ship Dual Blades of Platinum, an assassin class weapon with a damage of 136 points, agility of 22 points, attack speed of 24%, armor penetration of 17 points. The requirement to use this weapon was to be level 5. The unique effect of this weapon was that each normal attack would inflict damage twice. King Feng equipped the 2 daggers. The effect was not very useful, since basically he always used his skills to deal damage. But the base attack of this weapon was quite high, and it also had 22 agility points. The attack speed was also going to increase the skill casting speed, reducing the recovery time, so it was not totally useless. And as for the armor piercing properties, the benefits were also quite high. Then, our boy equipped the Ghost Fire Leather Armor of Gold Tier, with a physical defense of 25 points, fire element resistance of 50 points, damage block of 14 points, granting 419 health points, and the requirement to use this equipment was to be level 5. He was amazed since leveling up had not increased his constitution. His current health was 350 points, and this equipment had actually added 419 health points directly. When he put this on, most players now wouldn't even be able to break his defense. Using the system, he decided to make his defensive equipment invisible, and used the starting appearance of the assassin class. This way, others wouldn't be able to see his equipment with their eyes and would have to enter the game interface to check. This wasn't over yet since there was still one last piece left. Upon checking the inventory, he saw that it was a skill book. It was called Ghost Shadow Blur of Gold Tier, an assassin class skill. It had a passive. It granted 15% dodge rate, and dodge activation granted immunity to all damage. King Feng was happy to have finally obtained an assassin survival skill, but then he remembered that this skill was very weak because it was very difficult to increase the dodge rate in this game. And if one spent effort to raise the dodge rate, the other attributes would be low. And if the dodge was not activated, it would be very dangerous. Our boy's body began to shine since he was different from the rest. He could evolve skills infinitely. While increasing the dodge rate, he would not sacrifice other attributes, so there were only benefits for him.